Hello there and welcome back. We are on to the second part of the second chapter of the book Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller, and that's going to be the chapter about the North Node in Taurus. So we're going to pick right back up at the section under forgiveness on page 82. In order to achieve full self-acceptance, these folks must release those who wounded them in the past through the process of forgiveness. This includes people in the present lifetime as well as any feelings of suspicion and outrage that stem from past incarnations. Forgiveness is essential to keeping their own power intact, and their best motive for forgiveness is not generosity but rather taking care of their own needs. In past lives, Taurus North Node's method of protecting themselves was revenge. If someone hurled one stone at them, they hurled a stone back, plus an additional stone to make sure that the person stopped. To stand up to the power of others was enlivening in those incarnations, but in this lifetime it is a waste of energy, a distraction from their new peaceful direction. They just want to build lives of comfort and stability and enjoy being on the earth. To achieve this, however, Taurus North Node people need to face the necessity of forgiveness when dealing with abuse or wounding. It's the only way they can cleanse the other person from their psychic field and regain inner peace. Regardless of what the other person did to them, they need to forgive the abuse and forgive themselves for allowing the abuse to occur. It also helps if they identify the strength they gained from the experience. If someone has wronged them beyond the point of forgiveness, they may need to confront the person before they can release the situation. One way to accomplish this is for Taurus North Node to go where he won't be disturbed, close his eyes and imagine the person he is unable to forgive sitting in a chair facing him. Through visualization, they can confront that person and let them know how they feel. They then need to listen intuitively for a response from the other person. If in their mind the person responds with sincere apology, Taurus North Node can forgive. However, if the person responds with arrogance or justification, or obviously is still not aware of the gravity of the injustice, vindication could be in order. In his imagination, Taurus North Node can take the perpetrator through the experience of abuse and allow them to experience the pain that they were caused. Then they will be able to forgive and release the other person from their life. Forgiveness is essential for these folks. It is the key to the release from painful early memories. If they are angry with someone and haven't forgiven them, it binds them into a negative psychic connection with the other person. One reason they withhold forgiveness is fear. If they forgive the other person, they don't know what that person may do to them, and they're afraid they will no longer be shielded from attack by their angry memories. They think they might be vulnerable again to someone who has abused them. But actually, when they truly forgive, they break the bond with that person. Then whatever the other person does, Taurus North Node is totally invulnerable. Grounding. Taurus North Node people have spent so many incarnations enmeshed in the bonded energy fields between themselves and others that they have lost touch with their sense of physical grounding, being in touch with their body and enjoying the physical aspects of life. In past lives, they wanted to experience higher realms, to fly, so they took one foot off the ground to experience other realities, and then they took both feet off the ground. Thus, in this incarnation, they have no sense of grounding or inner stability. Their challenge is to get their feet back on the ground and regain a sense of their own inner strength. Appreciation. One of the main ingredients and keys for satisfaction in this lifetime is for these folks to consciously evoke the feeling of appreciation. This practice alone will make a significant difference in their lives. In past lives, taking time to feel appreciation was the last thing on their minds. Their consciousness was geared to crisis management, and they had an addiction to excitement. Their desire was never satisfied, always wanting more. To balance overactive desire in this incarnation, they need to exercise the antidote, which is appreciation for what they already have. Part of cultivating the energy of appreciation involves acknowledging the bounty that is already present in their lives. As they feel gratitude for what life has already brought them, they relax and feel peaceful and loved. The energy of appreciation pulls them back into themselves, and when they are centered in this way, they open to life, bringing them more. For example, no matter how much or how little money they have, Taurus North Node can say, "Thank you, universe, for providing enough money so that I can afford whatever they do have, a roof over their head, food on the table, etc." If they don't have a partner, they can say, "Thank you, universe, for the friends, family, co-workers, children, pets, etc. that you have sent into my life to love me." This is the key to the fullness they have been seeking. It has nothing to do with what is happening externally. It has to do with the graciousness in accepting and appreciating what they do have. As they take the time to appreciate what they have with openness and feeling, they begin to experience the fullness of love inside them, which replaces the agitation they have so often felt. Connection with nature. Everyone needs to receive nurturing energy in order to feel renewed and satisfied. In past lives, Taurus North Node people became dependent on soulmate relationships to provide that nurturing. In this lifetime, whenever they depend on others to fill these needs, they feel let down. It's set up this way because their lesson is to become independent in meeting their own needs. In this incarnation, these folks have a magical relationship with Mother Nature and with the earth, and that is where much of their nurturing is destined to come from. Their attunement to Mother Nature empowers them to connect directly with her energy and absorb it in a healing and re-energizing way. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to sneeze. I feel it coming. All right. It is absolutely springtime. And a lot of yard work, like kicking up the dust out there. All right. For peace of mind and inner strength, Taurus North Node people need to spend time in nature on a regular basis, consciously appreciating the support Mother Earth is giving them. This process will magically shift their basic emotional state to one of serenity. Situations with others that evoke insecurity will occur less frequently when these folks are consistently reinforcing a base of calm support inside themselves. Some of these people have a green thumb, and they may find working with plants or spending time gardening very soothing. It is in their best interest to fully absorb the energy from Mother Nature, to touch the plants, trees, and let the earth nurture them. Hugging a tree can evoke the same energy and happiness for them as hugging a person. Hugging a person is also good. Sensual affection is always beneficial for them. But if they feel any reservation about who to hug or what their motives are, a tree will always provide the centerness they need. So Taurus North Node, you need to get out there and become the universal tree huggers. I think that's what this is saying. Their ability to receive energy from nature is a gift they can share with others. For example, if they're walking in the park with a friend and share their knowledge of tree energy, the friend will be more aware of the gift of nature's energy while in the presence of the Taurus North Node person, and will be permanently enriched by the experience. Sensual enjoyment. To keep themselves focused on furthering their aims requires facing the issue of self-worth. These folks may feel unworthy spending time and energy on themselves. However, such feelings are totally off track. Taurus North Node must spend time doing things that they consider to be important, as this will build the resources they need to experience life and relationships from a foundation of self-sufficiency. The fact is that for spiritual balance, their destiny in this incarnation is to experience the sensual enjoyments of life, to become grounded, and to regain a sense of their own earthy substance. In past lives, Taurus North Node people developed a deep enjoyment of the spiritual psychic senses. Now it's time to develop a deeper awareness of the 5 physical senses. In this incarnation, their senses are generally quite sensitive and well developed. The idea is to pay attention to the pleasure their physical senses offer them. The smell of springtime, the taste of good food, a perfume they enjoy, or the touch of their lover. Even lifting weights or other physical exercise can be helpful. Anything that gets them in touch with their bodies in a way that results in pleasure or self-esteem. Music is an excellent source of enjoyment for these folks that eases their mental frequencies into harmonious patterns. They may benefit by having music playing regularly in the background. They are attuned to the sounds of nature, waves crashing on the beach or birds singing. To enjoy their sense of hearing is altogether on path for them. They also gain pleasure from their sense of sight, noticing beauty around them, appreciating artistic creations, or taking time to enjoy a sunset. Taurus North Node people generally have well-developed taste buds, fully enjoying the pleasure of good food, and going to posh restaurants are totally on path. To become aware of their sense of touch is also beneficial. Taking time to touch the trees, leaves, a piece of wood, or fabric to experience physical comfort is altogether appropriate. Even being aware of the sensation of snow crunching under their feet can be a sensual pleasure. Another way to enhance their sense of grounding is to become more conscious of their clothing in terms of how it feels. Does it feel sensual or comforting? Do they like the feeling of that fabric? These are the clothes they should put on their bodies in order to take care of and pamper themselves. Clothing can also be a powerful vehicle for establishing self-worth. For an important appointment, if the choice is between an outfit in which they're comfortable and confident versus an outfit they think will impress the other person, their best bet is to wear the clothing in which they feel comfortable. That way, regardless of the other person's response, they feel comfortable within themselves. Other sensual experiences that are good karma for these folks, including giving or receiving massages or being pampered with a manicure, facial, sauna, or jacuzzi. When they spend time giving themselves physical rewards or sensual pleasure, they won't need as much from others. And this is, I've always said, this is my side notes on this. Taurus is the most sensual of the signs. It has the most heightened sense awareness. And so even if you have, Taurus in another major placement in your chart, that's where you're really going to find like sensual enjoyment. And really fully engaging, sight, sound, touch, taste, etc. in, any environment that you're in. Now on to the section titled Relationships. Search for the soulmate. Taurus North Node people are born looking for their soulmates. This can lead to promiscuity during their youth with the tendency to jump into relationships too quickly because they want the bonding so intensely. Their challenge in this lifetime is to focus less on bonding and more on building their own values, then they will attract the right partner. From past lives, these folks are accustomed to giving everything and having the other person reciprocate. But in this incarnation, much to the native surprise, it's not in their charts for others to take care of them in the same codependent way. This is the universe's way of helping them break abusive codependency and learn to be more self-contained. Deep in their hearts, more than anything in the world, they want a soulmate, that special person to travel with through life in a state of mutual vulnerability, commitment, and empowerment. To have this dream come true, they need to first experience being complete within themselves, when they no longer need another person to make them feel whole. Only then will they attract the right life partner. Taurus North Node people feel acutely lonely sometimes, aching for their mate. They long for the comfort of consistent, dependable companionship. And this is a lifetime where loyal companionship is their birthright, but as with everything else in this incarnation, they must earn it. As they work to experience their own wholeness and direction and become a powerful river in their own right, they can merge with another powerful river that is going in the same direction, and together they can flow to the sea. Invasive maneuvers. Yearning for the soulmate causes Taurus North Node people to probe the psychology of others. In past lives, this technique worked for them. Their understanding of another's psychological makeup facilitated a bond of mutual empowerment. However, they became so accustomed to stepping into other people's psyches that they lost touch with their own boundaries. Now when they enter another person's force field, they go too far and become invasive, and both people begin to lose their sense of autonomy. Also, the other person can sense that the Taurus North Node wants the bonding energy rather than simply appreciating and empowering the other person as in his or her own right. These folks think everyone wants the same emotional things they do. Love, acknowledgement, appreciation, so they give others this emotional support and encouragement. But if they rush in and try to change another's mood, sometimes they're surprised when that person responds with anger or frustration because they feel their boundaries have been invaded. Also, Taurus North Nodes often inadvertently become too enmeshed in another person's force field and begin to feel uncomfortable. If they get too absorbed in another's moods, it dissipates their own energy. When this happens, their best bet is to excuse themselves and take a break to get grounded, walk around the block, touch a tree, and allow nature's nurturing energy to pour into them. Then when they feel calmer, confident, and centered in their own energy, they can again approach the person or situation and know what to do. In this lifetime, Taurus North Node people need to be able to maintain their own psychic energy field as a separate entity before they attempt to bond with another. When they do bond, they need to create space in their relationships. They tend to do anything in front of their partner that they would do in private, which isn't always a good idea because the partner may begin to feel like a part of them rather than a separate individual. Establishing boundaries that support their individuality and self-worth is essential in creating the space Taurus North Node people need for their relationships and themselves to thrive. Being unaccustomed to boundaries, at first they have difficulty recognizing other people's boundaries and establishing their own. Yet if they stay calm, they will gain the awareness to define their own so that their lives can be strong and they can have a greater sensitivity to the powers of others. Healthy boundaries promote self-respect and respect for others. Abuse. In Taurus North Node's previous incarnations, abuse was a factor, both giving and receiving, owing to the power struggles that resulted when bonded relationships became too consuming. One of their primary challenges in this lifetime is to separate their identity from that of their parents. They have to establish boundaries for themselves in order to break this bond. Otherwise, it will continue to be a power struggle. These folks are learning not to abuse power. Sometimes they learn this lesson by being victims of abuse themselves. By being victims in early life, they have a choice. They can abuse others when they become adults, or they can break the pattern and not retaliate for the abuse they've received. They're learning about love and forgiveness. Those lessons may follow on the heels of having been wounded unfairly themselves. I also just want to point out here from my own perspective, knowing Taurus North Node people, is that it is not always a physical abuse that they experience in this lifetime. Neither is it always a mental abuse. Sometimes it's the karmic abuse that's built up over the past lifetime incarnations. But if you are somebody that as a Taurus North Node has experienced either mental, psychological, and or physical abuse, especially from a parental relationship or a very controlling parent-child relationship, it's just very important that you break those cycles and learn to stand very much firmly within yourself. It's almost as if the Taurus North Node people didn't come out with, into life with enough rebellion, and they might skip a teenage rebellious cycle altogether. And in some ways, you may see where it's a little more passive aggressive, where they will assert rebellion in ways that aren't as direct or aren't as typical. So getting back into the book here. Sometimes Taurus North Node people are in denial about their difficult childhoods, even when the abuse was blatantly apparent to others. They tend to portray their parents as good and see themselves as having evoked abuse as rightful punishment for being bad. They are all too willing to carry guilt. I had a Taurus North Node client with 2 children whose parents had severely abused her during childhood, sexually, physically, and emotionally, yet she thought they had been good parents. This woman eventually sought psychiatric care, and one day the doctor asked her, "What would your children have to do in order for you to feel they deserve the punishments you received as a child?" This stopped her dead in her tracks, as she realized there was nothing her children could ever do that would justify being treated in that way. When Taurus North Nodes experience abuse as adults, they have to first acknowledge that it's happening. When they need to extricate themselves from the situation and break the psychological bond through forgiveness, often they do very well with psychotherapy or some other form of intervention that enables them to uncover and release past life and early childhood memories of abuse or feelings of guilt. Their tendency to perceive themselves as intrinsically bad and disliked by others is actually their oversensitive probing to evoke validation from others. When these folks stop seeking validation, they will no longer be so vulnerable to feeling disliked. Sometimes the people who have abused them do shun them, and the reason is understandable. When one has abused another, there's a lot of guilt involved. Taurus North Node people are the master builders. When they focus on building a relationship and do it in their way, in tune with their own level of comfort, it will last forever. Their challenge is to not allow other people's energy to disturb their sense of what's comfortable. It's not to their advantage to allow themselves to get knocked around in any way. That's a powerful chapter in this book. Lots of accuracy there for Taurus North Node people that I've known. Very, very important stuff. Discrimination. Because they were not born knowing what's important to them in life, Taurus North Node people tend to investigate others' values. But this never works because when others share what's important to them, Taurus North Nodes say to themselves, that's not important because of blank, and the other person feels invalidated. Not only do Taurus North Nodes lose out on what they are seeking, but the process throws the other person off track in pursuing their values and often ends up feeling upset. Taurus North Node people have spent so many incarnations being subject to the value systems of others that they sometimes hide what they want if they think it's not socially acceptable or not okay with those close to them. But in this incarnation, in order to build a sense of self-worth, they need to discriminate between others' values and their own honor and what they want. Only when they go after what they really want do they feel good about themselves. For example, if making lots of money is important to them, their tendency is to allow the values of others to invalidate them. Oh, that's so materialistic, and you're a spiritual person. Then they feel badly and try to suppress that desire in themselves. This is typical of how they undermine their own self-worth. However, if these folks try to suppress their desire for wealth because of someone else's disapproval, they will end up with money problems. If they try to solve their money problems, something will work against them because they feel guilty about financial success. Then they will be stuck, not knowing why they can't get that aspect of their life together and feeling badly about themselves. Thus, if they do desire wealth, their best bet is to openly pursue it. Discrimination is also an issue in that Taurus North Node people attract troubled types as candidates for close relationships, perhaps owing to past lives of working with emotionally disturbed people or their attraction to living on the edge. Taurus North Nodes tend to be drawn to people who are poor risks for closeness. When they bond with and put their trust in one of these people, they always end up being disappointed. These folks are aware. They know when they are dealing with someone who is so troubled that they don't have the ability to give anything back, but they are attracted nonetheless. They think they can help the other person, and then they expect the other person to be grateful and offer reciprocal support. But this equals how to lose for Taurus North Node people. Their job is to discriminate and form relationships with those who are already psychologically healthy. One way they get involved with the wrong people is when they seek to gain validation from others by taking on their values. For instance, even if they don't take drugs, they may talk about them and put up a front if they think it will make them look good. This confuses both themselves and others. They repel those who would normally be attracted to them, and they attract those who have the same values that they are espousing. If they get in touch with what's really important to them and clearly represent those values, then they will attract people who truly resonate with them. In this incarnation, Taurus North Node people need stability, not crisis. To achieve this in the context of relationships, they must not let their partner invalidate them. If the partner says something they are not comfortable with, they can let them know, I'm not comfortable with that. In this way, they make the other person aware of their boundaries, giving the partner an opportunity to accommodate them and come into alignment with what they need. As the relationship evolves, it will become apparent whether or not this person is an appropriate partner. Bonding. Taurus North Node people love the energy of bonding with another person to accomplish far more than either one could do alone. This process in itself is fine. The problem is that Taurus North Node got stuck on one end of the teeter-totter being person B, the one who notices the worth of person A and helps person A reach his or her goals. This no longer works. It's time for Taurus North Node to be person A, the one who allows person B to be attracted and help person A reach his or her goals. Taurus North Node people are not selfish. When others empower them in manifesting their dreams, they make sure the others are taken care of. But to achieve successful bonded partnerships, Taurus North Node people need to be the ones that others support. This means clarifying their values and goals and allowing others to rally around them. Because these folks are so accustomed to shared energies and mutual empowerment being the key to their survival, subconsciously they think they need another person's energy in order to live. This is why they often make poor choices in their early relationships. They rush into highly charged bondings and consummate them as soon as possible. Their desperation blots out their ability to accurately appraise the other person. These folks aren't standing on solid ground when they are caught up in the intense energy early in a relationship. When they allow this to happen, they become vulnerable in a way that requires total trust. Then if the other person pressures them for a decision, they are tempted to commit to the relationship too quickly. However, doing things quickly does not work for them. In this lifetime, they have to take the slow and steady approach to ensure positive results. Relationships they just plunge into are almost predestined for failure because their basis is a temporary energy connection rather than a true fit with the other person. Furthermore, if Taurus North Nodes go too fast, the relationship between themselves and the other person that could fit, if given time for slight adjustments, doesn't fit because the partners have skipped the necessary stages of gentle adaptation. To achieve successful long-term relationships, Taurus North Node people need to first recognize that their energy is enough. They can live off their own energy. As long as they feel incomplete, they will continue to attract people who also have low self-esteem. But without untamed neediness driving them, they can take their time in discovering whose energy will actually increase them and bring them joy. Check our time on there. Let's see what that is. All right, we're good. Sexuality. Taurus North Node people are generally highly sexual. They seek the intensity and excitement of bonding that is possible through a sexual connection. Early in life, they may be promiscuous. If they feel a connection with a person right away, they want to get in bed to start the bonding process. Then the relationship ends as quickly as it began because there wasn't a stable base to support the passion. These folks spend much of their time looking for a soulmate, that one piece of the puzzle that goes together perfectly with their piece. When they are impatient and become sexually involved at the onset of a relationship without allowing time for a connection to be established, it's because they want a soulmate so badly and think sexuality will tell them who that person is. The irony is if they take their time, the energy will be much more intense and satisfied because they have established a meaningful base for the relationship. However, they have had so much past life experience merging with people mentally and emotionally that they often leave the aspect of enjoying their bodies out of the sexual process. They can burn out sexually in relationships and not understand why. In this relationship, it is scheduled for them to pull back from the energy fields of others and establish a sense of home base inside their own bodies. This is their key to a happy sex life. They need to deliberately take their time in relationships, not rushing the sexual aspect, until they fully developed a sensual connection with the other person. Taurus North Node people need lots of physical attention, kissing, hand-holding, touching, massaging, really tuning in with how the other person's hands feel on their skin and how their nervous system responds to the other person, strictly on a bodily level without the aid of their imagination. They then need to see how the other person's body feels to them and if they feel a physical response in the other's body. Building this body-to-body sensitivity will bring their full sensuality into play and will provide a stable base for their sexuality. If Taurus North Node's body does not resonate with the other person, that is important knowledge. They will not want to pursue a romantic relationship that has no lasting substance or physical resonance. Over time, Taurus North Node people may begin to have sexual problems with their long-term partner. When this occurs, it is generally because they are using sex to barter for something else. For example, if a Taurus North Node woman wants flowers or jewelry, she may use sex as a way of manipulating her partner so they will buy her those things. If a man wants a certain behavior from his mate, he may withhold sex or use sex as barter to get what he wants. In this way, the sexual urge becomes diluted by other motives. Over time, the sexual part of the union becomes less intimate. The other person feels the attempt to control through sex and begins to lose interest. As a result, relationships that were once highly passionate could end up as platonic friendships or cause a feeling of impotence or frigidity. By seeking to mentally manipulate their sex drive, Taurus North Node people can lose touch with their own natural potency. In this incarnation, these folks are learning to appreciate the gift of sharing sexual pleasure with their partner without any other motive. They are learning the value of the simple, natural pleasures of life: food, sex, being comfortable, enjoyment of the physical pleasures that are the gift of having a human body. Loyalty. Loyalty and commitment are very important to Taurus North Node people. They do not generally play around. They want someone to go through life with, a partner who feels the same way. They want to be fulfilled, so when they marry, they tune into their mate physically and begin feeding him or her power, validation, and energy, expecting that their mate will reciprocate. This doesn't work because Taurus North Node doesn't first discern what his partner's needs actually are from the partner's point of view. Instead of tuning into his partner's needs, he projects his own values onto his mate. He projects what he thinks they want and need. Then they fulfill those needs, but their partner's actual needs and desires are seldom recognized. For Taurus North Node people, solid relationships are based on each person taking responsibility for filling his or her own needs and gaining energy from activities outside of the relationship. Then a healthy bonding can take place that is based on mutual strength, giving energy rather than draining it from one another. They are learning that loyalty between two people in a relationship is based on both people being loyal to themselves. They need to establish a bond of loyalty to self before they can expect to be loyal to another in a healthy way. For example, loyalty to self implies honestly communicating, "I don't feel comfortable with this," rather than invalidating personal needs to adapt to the partner. It implies taking a position of integrity based on an inner feeling of what is correct and standing in that one place, rather than standing in different places depending on where the most validation seems likely. Through living by their own values, these folks allow the right person to respond to them and support them. This means being willing to risk losing their partner. If they remain true to themselves, honestly revealing what their inner comfort level is telling them, either the other person will validate them by coming closer, or the other will leave and make room for someone more appropriate. When difficult times create stress in a marriage, Taurus North Node people view loyalty as the quality that keeps two people together, working on the marriage until they can get over the hump. Loyalty involves integrity and a commitment by both people to work on the issues rather than just giving up. Taurus North Node people need to feel that the other person will be there, so when they become fully invested in the bond, they won't have the rug pulled out from under them. Because this is an important issue for them, when they begin a close relationship, their best bet is to acknowledge loyalty is important to me. Knowing that my partner is going to be there through thick and thin, is it important to you? Is it an important quality to you in a relationship as well? By making it clear from the beginning, they allow the other person to see the type of relationship they are offering. This is one of the most effective ways they can take care of the needy part within, discovering for themselves what their needs are, acknowledging that those needs are important, and then clearly communicating those needs to see how the other person responds. The idea is to move the give and take of relationships out of the realm of expectation and into the realm of open disclosure, verbalizing what is important as the relationship progresses. Then they can determine whether both partners want to meet each other's needs and make each other happy on the consistent basis that they need. Withholding. Taurus North Node people tend to withhold what the other person needs because they are judgmental about what they think the person really needs. For example, the other person may say she needs to play bridge with her friends one evening a week. The Taurus North Node partner may resist. "You don't need that. Those people aren't up to your caliber." But by invalidating his partner's expressed needs, he undermines the relationship. His best bet is to truly empathize with the other person without the overlay of his own desires. Because Taurus North Node people are so aware of their own needs, when the partner asks for something, their first response may be resistance. They don't want to keep giving because they feel empty, so they deliberately withhold what the partner has asked for and defend their position by becoming judgmental of what the other person wants. In this situation, both people lose. The other person feels deprived, so she retaliates by giving less to Taurus North Node or giving with resentment. This seriously undermines the very bond they want to build. It is to these folks' advantage to release their tendency to withhold from their partner. Often the key is discrimination. Does the other person's expressed need violate Taurus North Node's sense of self-worth? If not, it behooves them to give the other person what they need, just as it is inappropriate for them to live by someone else's values. It is inappropriate for them to expect others to live by his values. Other people are simply being themselves. Awareness of needs. There is a difference between expressed needs and unexpressed needs. An expressed need is something the partner says she wants: 1 hour alone every day, time to do a project, dinner together once a week, etc. When Taurus North Node people generously cooperate with those needs, their partners are happy and respond with an outpouring of love and appreciation. An unexpressed need is something projected onto the other person. This doesn't satisfy what the other person actually wants and leads to dissatisfaction for both parties. Sometimes these folks are afraid to reveal what they need for fear of appearing selfish. Actually, when they don't reveal what they need, they deprive their partner of the opportunity to make them happy. Also, if they don't communicate their boundaries and let others know what they need, people begin to lose respect for them. These folks don't object to anything. They don't say, no, this is not okay. Others tend to take advantage of them because they don't feel enough self-worth to stand up for themselves. To Taurus North Node people, others can seem like gods who hold the key to meeting their needs, but they overvalue others and undervalue themselves. This is the imbalance that leads to heartbreak. Once they recognize this, instead of trying to figure out if the other person can fill their needs, they begin to let their partner know how they feel and what they want to be happy. No justification, no compromise, just simple revelation of what they need in a relationship. By overtly saying, this is what I need to be happy in this relationship, they give the other the opportunity to adapt to them. The irony is that when Taurus North Node people are true to themselves in this way, the changes others make in their behavior are generally beneficial for Taurus North Nodes as well. These folks sometimes feel they've given and just don't have any more to give. This stems from being constantly aware of their partner's needs. It takes a lot of energy to keep part of one's concentration always attuned to the other person. The feeling of emptiness is actually to their advantage. It reminds them of the necessity to turn inward and meet their own needs first. Otherwise, the emptiness persists no matter how much their partner gives. Exposure. In the history of humankind, many negative thoughts and emotions have been generated as a response to life experiences, especially inadequacy, guilt, and shame. These feelings are not personal, they are part of the collective unconscious. Although they do not accurately describe us as individuals, if we identify with one of these feelings, we have a tendency to hide it. Then we think we're the only ones with these terrible feelings. The process happens the extreme with Taurus North Node people. A negative emotion floats by and they grab it, hold on to it, try to hide it. In order to hide it, they have to bury it deep inside. It takes tremendous energy to hide these feelings from others, and the fear that someone will find out how they feel generates a lot of anxiety. These folks are so sensitive and psychically bonded with others that they think everyone knows what's going on with them all the time anyway, so they really become intense trying to hide these feelings. Their best bet to get past this anxiety is to simply expose what they're feeling one layer at a time. When they expose it, they can release it, the light will dissipate it. They should practice revealing their feelings in non-threatening situations where they can feel a certain level of trust with the people involved, although any situation will seem threatening when they take the risk. They may start out, there's something I want to share with you, and I feel a certain amount of fear in saying it. That peels off one layer. Then I feel anxious inside, and I'm not exactly sure why. It's kind of like, it's like there's some kind of feeling going on underneath the anxiety, and I'm not sure what it is. That peels off another layer. As each layer is exposed and released, the next layer makes itself apparent. Gosh, I guess what's going on is that for some reason, I seem to feel a sense of inadequacy in this situation. Period. That's it. Once it's exposed, it dissipates. There's no more anxiety, no more feeling inadequate. The whole thing is released. Through this process, Taurus North Node's inner negative feelings are permanently discharged, and they begin to experience less anxiety in all their interactions. Goals. Self-reliance. Taurus North Node people are not allowed to rely on others for success in this lifetime because they need to learn to rely on themselves. Thus, when they count on another person's energy to create what they want, it doesn't turn out according to their high expectations. It's one more reminder from the universe that they are not allowed to rely on others for their sense of self-worth. The irony is that once they learn to rely on themselves, others rally around to help them reach their goals. Their confidence comes from knowing that because they built success on their own step by step, that no one can take it away. Establishing self-worth. When Taurus North Node people look to others to acknowledge that they have power, they won't feel like they have any. When they realize that their power is within them, they have a lot. Part of claiming their power involves understanding their own value. They don't have to work to become something valuable. Their value is inherent. Who they are is a gift they bring to the planet. Their own sense of self-worth is the one thing they can hang on to amid the constant shifting of public opinion. When these folks let others determine their worth, they are on a roller coaster. I had a client with this nodal position who was working with endangered species. She had to bring a change of clothes each day because in handling the animals, her clothes would become soiled. One day she forgot her other clothes and had to wear her work clothes home, and then she had to bring a caged animal with her that day. As she waited to catch the ferry boat, she noticed others gave her a wide berth and treated her with disdain. Then a friend who was in the new car business and needed to transport 3 autos on the ferry asked if she would drive one of them on board. When she climbed into a brand new Lincoln Continental, she noticed that the attitude of the people on the ferry shifted. They were friendly, smiling, and waving to her. Yet her worth, who she was on the inside, stayed the same. She could recognize how invalid it is to let other people determine her worth. In this incarnation, the most important goal for Taurus North Node people is to pledge to themselves, to their own values, and build a sense of self-worth. They are learning that they can't establish self-worth by going along with others' values to gain validation, nor can they attain self-worth through resisting others' values. Either way, they lose. They win when they discover what is truly important and precious to them, their own values. Self-worth will come as a byproduct of living according to those values. They recognize the truth of this, but may still feel lost when it comes to knowing what their values are, and that's fine. They have a clean slate, a unique opportunity to get in touch with what is in the deepest levels of their soul. The idea is to consciously discover what is important to them. What values give them a sense of being grounded, confident, and able to face the world without anxiety? They need to ask themselves, what principles can I live by that will make me feel good about myself, give me a sense of my own self-worth, and give me a solid path to follow? For example, if Taurus North Node people decide that honesty in communication is a value for them, they need to begin letting others know when they feel uncomfortable. If they decide that starting their own business is important, they can begin systemically allotting time to it. These folks have discipline once they're clear about their direction. As they travel through life, if they are uncertain about which road to take, they can ask themselves, would taking this action make me feel good about myself, regardless of the consequence in the outer world? If the answer is yes, they can proceed with confidence. To further discriminate, they can ask themselves, does choosing this direction make me feel comfortable or anxious? When they choose to move in alignment with their comfort zone, they win. If they opt for anxiety with no safety net, they lose. Is this path leading to inner peace, or will it create more crisis? Inner peace will lead to victory for them. Is my motive self-validation or to gain the validation of others? Those pathways that validate the principles they think are inherently valuable, that give them a sense of self-esteem, help them the most. Self-empowerment. Taurus North Node people are so accustomed to empowering others that they have forgotten how to empower themselves. In this lifetime, their challenge is to turn the spotlight around and make themselves powerful. They can discover how to do this by noticing what they do that empowers others and then applying those same tactics to themselves. For example, they sense what the other person really wants and encourage them to go after it. They add to what is inherent in the other person, thus turning it around. What project or direction gives them energy? What do they want to build? Once they know what it is, they need to feed themselves support and encouragement. This is a lifetime to take their power back, to use it for themselves rather than giving it all away or sharing it in ways that are not responsible to themselves. For example, if they spend their energy on charitable projects when they have trouble coming up with a mortgage payment each month, that's furthering the cause of another without first providing a secure financial base for themselves. These folks are learning not to waste energy, whether in the form of time, money, or personal talents. They are learning to use their resources consciously. It's very easy to divert their energy away from building comfort and security. They may even distract themselves spending time doing anything else because they don't feel confident in doing things to fill their own needs. Yet when they approach it on a practical level and proceed step by step toward their goal, they gain self-assurance. Taurus North Node people tend to be unwilling to give 100% of themselves. They hold back because they're afraid of failure and they don't want to further undermine their sense of self-worth. But actually, when they do give 100% and don't attain their goal, they still feel good about themselves because they know they did their best. But when they hold back and fail, they're never sure. If I'd really done my best, would I have succeeded? And that does undermine their self-confidence. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to these natives is to encounter a situation in which they are forced to do their best. When it's all or nothing and they're forced to open up the valve all the way, that's when they truly get in touch with their own power, and tremendous self-worth is born from it. Taurus North Node people are learning to recognize their own power, that it comes from within and is not dependent on anyone else. The idea is for them to do things that allow the power within to come forward naturally. Devoting time to projects that make money for them or provide comfort or security is empowering. They gain power when they have the courage to walk through difficult times and experience a positive outcome. They gain power when they communicate what is truly important to them, regardless of others' opinions, and see the situation turn out well. When they step outside of society's values and get in touch with their own values, they find their power every time they are true to themselves. So good. Check our time. Yeah, this is a longer chapter than the last one, guys. I hope I can get through these last couple pages. This was a long one. It's longer than the first one. It's because it's Scorpio. Taurus Scorpio energy is deep. Practical application, a sense of purpose. Taurus North Node people are the master builders. Once they learn how to take their time, work out each step so that it's solid and not move faster than what feels comfortable, the things they build will last forever. These folks' past lives revolved around the projects of others, so in this incarnation they are learning to make the decisions and steer the project. The strength required to see the project through will come from being clear with their purpose. If with each step they take, they clarify their purpose, what is my purpose in making this call and having this meeting? It will help focus their direction and they will make steady progress. One of their first jobs is to find a project that makes them feel secure and happy. If it's a financial project, their strength will be in seeing a public need and figuring out what they can do to fill the need that will also make money for themselves. Then, because it's their project, when they take responsibility, their energy soars, and the energy that comes from success nurtures them and creates a positive feedback loop that helps them remain clear about their purpose and focus on their goal. Owing to so many past lives and empowering others at the expense of their own self-worth, Taurus North Node people can be skittish about allowing the ideas of others into their world. But the fact is now the tables are reversed. In this lifetime, after they have chosen their goal, they are supposed to allow others to help them. They tend to make the process of success unnecessarily hard on themselves. They think others are supposed to give them everything, support them, take care of all their material needs, or they have to do everything on their own without any help. This all-or-nothing approach is neither accurate nor practical. It is true that Taurus North Nodes need to earn their own success. However, once they have decided on a goal and are willing to put forth the effort to get there step by step, then it's fully appropriate for other people to support, empower, and help them reach the goal. Others can make the route easier by opening up opportunities, pointing out pitfalls, broadening their approach, and helping them to cover their bases in a practical way. They shouldn't rely on the help of others, but they need to learn to accept it when it's freely offered. A step-by-step process. When Taurus North Node people see how far they have to go to reach their goal, they panic. All the work involved, the hurdles to overcome. How will they ever get there? So they pull back from their larger goals, owing to fear of failure. It all seems so overwhelming. Seen from their point of view, it would feel overwhelming to anyone. The only way long-range goals are reached is by breaking the process into individual steps. The idea of being a doctor is intimidating to a high school student, and yet, if that is their true dream, it's worth working through the hurdles. First, the aspiring physician has to complete a 4-year college education, then 4 years of medical school, and then residency. It is a long process, but it can be accomplished in stages, one step at a time, and the goal will be reached if each step is completed with total attention. It's the same in an important relationship. If these folks meet someone who rings their bells, the idea of reuniting with their soulmate is so overwhelming that they don't want to think about it. They want to jump right into it, and the result is disaster. What they dreamed of isn't accomplished because they tried to bypass the necessary steps. Sometimes they think about their goal and they forget that getting there is solely up to them and their willingness to do the work. They can feel a lot of emotional intensity worrying about whether they are worthy of the goal. But this is like looking at the mountain and wondering if they're worthy of reaching the summit when the only thing that can make them worthy is actually climbing it. If they have the proper equipment, choose a realistic route relative to their experience and ability, and are willing to put one foot in front of the other, they will get there. Taurus North Node people are not accustomed to formulating a strategy for getting to the goal, since in past lives defining the steps was the responsibility of another person. Now they're learning to determine the goal they would like to accomplish, a camping trip with their family, starting a business, etc., and to formulate a practical plan for achieving it. As they take the steps, they're very efficient and have a feeling of confidence that it will work, and it usually does as long as they systematically follow the steps. Even so, it is not always easy for these folks to be clear about what they want in life. They may need a lot of self-reflection and soul-searching to determine what they want to build. And when they do decide, it's important that they remember to tune into their inner feeling of comfort as a barometer of whether or not a decision is on path for them. Regardless of what their mind tells them, if they have an inner feeling of discomfort about something and proceed anyway, they always lose. When they remain true to that inner sense of what is comfortable, which is a reflection of their own unique boundaries, everything works to their advantage. Taurus North Node people need values and ethics to live by, a path they can walk step by step to achieve serenity. When they find spiritual principles they resonate with, their best bet is to apply them on a practical basis in their daily lives. They are much better off with application rather than theory. To build a solid sense of self-worth, these folks need to follow a path of doing the right thing according to what they feel is morally correct, rather than going along with the values of others. Their means of guidance may not always be the most pleasant, but if they follow it, it can lead them out of the dark, being lost without a sense of integrity and self-worth into the light. Shame or guilt may be an indication that they should reevaluate their behavior. Regardless of the opinions of society, they know what makes them feel good about themselves. When they follow their own internal guidance system, a solid sense of self-worth is ensured. Yeah, this is a big last couple pages here. So let's see. I think we're good on time. We've got about 8 minutes left till this battery shuts off. If it cuts out, guys, I'll just come back and do a short end. Mastering money. From the charity work they performed in past incarnations, Taurus North Node people have gained the right to earn personal wealth in this incarnation. Charity work is natural for them because in past lives other people paid their bills, so they put this energy into things that were good for the community. However, in this incarnation, it is better for them to pursue activities for which they are paid, since the process of earning money helps build their self-esteem. These folks sometimes are too trusting with money. They know that trusting the universe is a principle that works. However, it's also true that God helps those who help themselves. Trusting the universe does not mean avoiding personal responsibility and doing irrational things out of blind faith. If a friend says, "Will you loan me $3,000?" and $3,000 is all Taurus North Node has to cover their own expenses, trusting the universe does not mean thinking, "Well, I'll trust the universe and I'll just give away my money." Taurus North Node people need to accept responsibility for taking care of their own finances. Only then can they include others without fear of losing their personal power and self-worth. When they feel secure, they can trust the universe in a way that empowers them to see what life is offering. Taking charge. To accept responsibility in terms of money and open the doors to personal wealth, Taurus North Node people need to deliberately begin paying attention to money, writing things down, keeping track of what they're spending and where their money is going. This is empowering. It enables them to channel their money in meaningful directions. Accumulating money is a game for which these folks do have a real talent. Once they put their minds to it, they can make a little money go a long way and can easily become wealthy. Sometimes they feel resentful about having to take charge with money. They're angry about not having the easier life they were accustomed to in past incarnations. Yet it's healthy when they do take care of themselves. A steady job, stable income, savings account, and financial plans for the future. The idea is to create a secure financial base that will allow them to take risks in other areas. This gives them a feeling of ease and confidence about life and makes them feel good about themselves. Although some folks do very well with inherited money, Taurus North Node people are not in that category. It's not to their advantage to be dependent on an inheritance, the financial goodness of others, or a state of federal assistance program. Any situation which they are financially dependent on another debilitates their sense of self-worth. In this incarnation, it is crucial that Taurus North Nodes earn their own money and are paid for their energy. If they have inherited money, it's in their best interest to use part of it to start their own business in some way or to promote a cause that builds their sense of self-worth. If they are financially dependent on a spouse, it's healthy for them to start a small business of their own or take a job outside the home, even if they don't need it or it's not much money. They need to build a sense of self, apart from their connection with the other person. Regularly setting aside blocks of time for working toward an individual goal or project that's important to them is another way to build their self-esteem. If these folks are on a state or federal assistance program, they can begin taking side jobs to make money. If the Taurus North Node is a parent with children, perhaps they can start a child care service. The issue is not how much or how little they make, but the sense of self-worth that is gained. Taurus North Node people have a natural understanding of how money works and the necessity of circulating it. Their challenge is to circulate it consciously. Once they start using it to build with, they can become very wealthy. In past lives, they were so accustomed to using other people's money that they lost respect for the value of money. They didn't have to earn it themselves. In this lifetime, they're earning to respect money so they can use it wisely in ways that help it multiply. Money is their teacher. Once they tap into their intuition of how money works, money itself will show them how to make more. This is just the craziest thing because I've known Taurus North Nodes, and many of them will say, money just isn't that important to me. They will say that, but it's actually important in this lifetime for them to learn the value of it. Not that it should be anybody's main focus in life, but it is important that no matter how much or how little they have, that they manage it well. It's really interesting here. Debt. Taurus North Node people may have a problem equating wealth with debt. I've had many clients with this nodal position who accumulated enormous debt owing to this misunderstanding. For example, I had a Taurus North Node client who, with her husband and another couple, started an innovative cosmetics business. It took off faster than anyone expected, and orders came in fast and furious. To keep up with this unexpected rush, my client borrowed against her credit cards to hire more employees, order more ingredients, and so on, until she had accumulated a debt of nearly 60 grand. Then there was a falling out among the partners, the company collapsed, the marriage ended, and she was left with all that debt. It took her 10 years to pay it off. To do it, she lived in a cheap apartment, allowed herself no luxuries, cut out her social life, worked 2 jobs, and endured incredible stress and deprivation. When the business first got off the ground, my client jeopardized herself by trying to respond instantly to an outside demand. She could have allowed the universe to unfold the business organically, using the profits to expand the business slowly from its modest beginnings. I had another Taurus North Node client who wanted to make films showing New Age encounter groups, especially those dealing with the emergence of new feminine and masculine roles in society. She thought the films had a noble mission. She trusted the universe to provide money for the project. She borrowed money, accumulating enormous debt to make these films. My client trusted that the money would be there because the universe wanted the project to succeed. Her life became total chaos, trying to raise the money, do the project, come up with delay tactics in paying back the money she'd already borrowed. Eventually, the entire undertaking collapsed and had to declare bankruptcy for the 2nd time in her life. This time, not only were the financial institutions hurt, but friends and family who had helped her with money as well. The accumulation of debt does not work for Taurus North Node people. They're master builders, and when they use common sense and don't take huge leaps of faith or try high-wire maneuvers without a safety net, but in some ways they don't respect money and tend to be careless about it. Although they don't think about it much on a conscious level, they have a lot of fears around money, owing to a lack of experience in providing for themselves financially in past lives. Once these folks realize they have to deliberately be more conscious about money, they accept the responsibility. However, sometimes they lose control, go on a spending spree, or buy something they don't need that they have to pay for later. In past lives, money was a tool for distraction. Thus, in this lifetime, when they get bored, they may have the urge to go shopping with the subconscious feeling that they deserve it and someone else will pay. Rationally, they know it's not true, but they almost can't help themselves. Taurus North Node people can't stand feeling restricted financially.